Hello, good morning, everyone. The topic of my presentation is presentation skills, group discussion, and interview skills. And let me start with presentation skills. Hope you can hear me. I am Dr. Madhura, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Karnataka State Open University. And as I have already mentioned, let me start with presentation skills. And this is very important, and you must, all of you, you should inculcate all these habits, all these skills before you face interviews or a public like that. And let me start with presentation skills. Many people feel terrified when asked to make their first public talk. Some of these initial fears can be reduced by good preparation that also lays the groundwork for making an effective presentation. A presentation is a means of communication that can be adapted to various speaking situations, such as talking to a group, addressing a meeting, or briefing a team. A presentation can also be what I can say used as a broad term that encompasses other speaking engagements, such as making a speech at a wedding or getting a point across in a video conference. To be effective, step by step, preparation and the method and means of presenting the information should be carefully considered. A presentation requires you to get a message across to the listeners and will often contain a persuasive element. And here I'm stressing persuasive element because it is very important. It may, for example, be a talk about the positive work of your organization, what you could offer an employer, or why you should receive additional funding for a project, and so on. And presentation skills can be defined as a set of abilities that enable an individual to interact with the audience, transmit the messages with clarity, engage the audience in the presentation, and interpret and understand the mindsets of the listeners. These skills refine the way you put forward your messages and enhance your persuasive powers. The present era, the present time places great emphasis on good presentation skills. This is because they play an important role in convincing the clients and customers, sometimes even students or your friends. Internally, management with good presentation skills is better able to communicate the mission and vision of the organization to the employees. Here, next, let me talk about importance of presentation skills and why it is very important in this present year. Interaction with others is a routine job of business in today's world, as we all know. The importance of good presentation skill is established on the basis of following points. They help an individual in enhancing his own growth, opportunities, etc. In addition, it also grooms the personality of the presenter and elevates his levels of confidence. In case of striking deals and gaining clients, it is essential for the business professionals to understand the audience. Good presentation skills enable an individual to mold his message according to the traits of the audience. This increases the probability of successful transmission of messages. Lastly, business professionals have to arrange seminars and give presentations almost every day. Having good presentation skills not only increases an individual's chances of success, but also enables him or her to add greatly to the organization. Then suddenly the question may arise in your mind, stating that how to improve your presentation skills or somebody's one's presentation skills. Of course, there are many ways. Development of good presentation skills requires efforts and hard work. Though you are not a smart worker, but you should be a hard worker. To improve your presentation skills, you must first thing research the audience before presenting. You should know what sort of audience you are going to address. Okay, so you should research the audience before you make a presentation. This will enable you to better understand the traits of the audience. You can then develop messages or stories to interest them that can be better understood by your target audience. For instance, in case of an analytical audience, you can add more facts and figures in your presentation in order to make your presentation lively. Second important thing is to structure your presentation effectively. Then how to make your presentation in a very good effective manner. So you should organize your presentation. The best way to do this is to start with telling the audience in the introduction what you are going to present. In, the, your introduction should be brief, and there you have to put it clearly that what you are going to talk about. And follow this by presenting the idea and giving a conclusion, the presentation, and finishing off the presentation by repeating the main points. Next important point is that you should do a lot of practice. You should practice and practice, right? And so you should do a lot of practice, rehearse, but do not go for memorizing the presentation. Of course, for some people it may work out, but not for all. Right? So rehearsal reduce your anxiety and it enables you to look confident on the presentation. Make sure you practice out loud, and you should read it out loud. Then only it builds confidence in you, and even at your confidence level also it increases if you practice and practice. And as it enables you to identify and eliminate errors more efficiently. Do not memorize anything as it will make your presentation look mechanical and monotonous. This reduces audience engagement. And presenting information clearly and effectively is a key skill in getting your message across. Today, presentation skills are required in almost every field, right? Even at your master's level, you need to present seminars sometimes. You need to make a small oral presentation like that. So you should inculcate this particular skill. And most of us are required to give presentations on occasions. While some people take this in their stride, others find it much more challenging. And it is, however, possible to improve your presentation skills with a bit of work. Of course, you have to work hard. This section of skills you need is designed to help. And many people, as I told you, that they feel terrified when asked to talk in public, right? So these are the ways to come out of their fear or stage fear and public fear of public like that. And there are different types of presentation, but they are all presentations. There are any number of many number of occasions when you may be asked to speak in public or to a group of people. They include presenting or making a speech at a conference or event, objecting to a planning proposal at a council meeting, making a speech at a wedding, proposing a vote of thanks to someone at a club or society, or sometimes at your firm, companies, or at your college, like that, and making on behalf of a team, sometimes saying adieu or bid adieu or saying goodbye, and giving a farewell party. There you should presenting a gift to a colleague who is leaving. There also on behalf of your team or your friends or like that, you have colleagues, you should make a small presentation. And seeking investment or a loan to help you set up a new business. So these are many occasions, such occasions where you need to what make a presentation, and this can all be considered presentations. And they do not, however, all require the same approach. You would not, for example, use PPT sometimes, PowerPoint, to thank a colleague who was leaving. And it seems very odd. It looks very odd, and it would be unusual because really some people they think it's peculiar thing of act. And however, a conference audience would be somewhat surprised not to see slides projected onto a screen. So you should know, and you should have common sense, and you should know where to present and how to present, and what are the target audience before you make a presentation. That's what I told you. You should know the target audience, and you should know the venue, and you should know the platform, and how and where, and you have to and what make a presentation. And it follows, therefore, that there is no single set of rules that apply to all presentations. Of course, true. There are, however, some things that every presentation opportunity has in common, right? These include you will present better if you have prepared effectively. That's to hope I'm audible enough. And if you have any doubts, you can uh, what put it in a private chat box, separate window. There you can drop me a message so that I can clarify your doubts at the end of my presentation. I was talking about uh, the some rules that presentation rules for presentation. It will apply to all occasion. Like you will present better if you have prepared effectively. This does not necessarily mean that you have written out your speech verbatim and rehearsed it until you know it off by heart. Although that might work for some people, it does not, however, mean that you have to be confident that you are saying the right thing in the right way to the right people. This you should know where you are presenting, what you are presenting. You should be confident enough that what you are saying is right thing at the right way and at the right place. Okay, next, you need to be clear about your audience and your message. And you should know that's what I told you. You should know the target audience and you should know what you are talking and what you are going to present. Every presentation will be better if you have clearly considered the message that you want or need to convey and how best to convey it to your audience is very, very essential and important. These two pieces of information drive your style, structure, content, and use of visual aids sometimes in order to make your presentation, especially when you are making a presentation at your firm or a company. If you make use of PPT, it would be very effective like that. So you can use visual aids like that. You must never overrun your allocated time. This is also very important point you should all know. In other words, don't outstay your welcome. Almost every speech or presentation is better if it is shorter, and your presentation should not be lengthy. Nobody minds going for coffee early or finishing before they expected to do so. Everybody minds being held up. Next important point, generally speaking, your audience starts on your side. As a rule, your audience is there more or less voluntarily. They have chosen to listen to you. So you should know that if there are small group of audience or maybe a bigger group of audience, they have come there to listen to you, right? So keeping this in mind, you should make your presentation very effective, and they want to enjoy your presentation at the same time. Not only they have come to listen to you, but also they wish to learn something, and they wish to enjoy your presentation. So the occasion, finally, you should understand that the occasion is yours. Ultimately, you are the master of that presentation. So everything lies in your hand whether to use it or lose it. Everything lies in the presenter, in the hands of the presenter. And very important point I wish to make here. What is that important point? There is one very important point to remember. If what you are doing or saying is not working, do something else. And sometimes you can feel that your audience is not at all interesting, and they are not at all uh, very attentive to listen to you after 1 hour of lecture or after 1 hour of presentation. That's what I told you. Your presentation should be shorter and sweeter. Depends upon the context I'm talking about, and you are the better judge of your presentation. And one of the worst feelings as a presenter is that you have lost your audience. For example, you know that's happened, but you continue to stumble through your remaining PPT PowerPoint slides for the next 15 minutes. Then what do? As your audience checks their phones and looking at their watches and wishes it was coffee time, then you should think you have no choice. But that's not actually true. So that's what I told you. If that is not an important thing, then you should do something wonder to get them back, pull them back to your presentation. And another important point, when you present, you are in charge of the room or the hall. The audience has effectively handed you control and is sitting back waiting for you to do something. You may have prepared a specific talk, but if you see that is not working, you can always change it. You are, after all, the expert, because you should know you are the expert and you are the master of that presentation, as well as you are in charge of the room or hall. And for example, skip through. and then how to deviate or from your topic, or I'm not asking you to deviate entirely from the topic, but in between you should break the monotony. In order to make your presentation, you should bring in live examples to make your presentation interesting, like that. Skip through some slides to a section that they may find more interesting, and ask your audience whether there is particular information that they were expecting that you are not providing, what you are not catering to them, like that. It's better to ask them and suggest that everyone looks a bit sleepy. Sometimes, especially, even we have felt in our afternoon session. Normally, there are very dry sessions. So, in that session, you should know what are the important topics, or important, very interesting topics which you can teach or what you can present. So, suggest that everyone, if you feel that your audience or your target audience looks a bit sleepy, and maybe it would be better to start questions early. So you should ask posing questions at not to not to shake them up, but in order to make them attentive or have a discussion. Okay, like that we can what wake them up from their sleep, like that, and ask the audience at the start of the presentation what they are expecting and what they want you to cover. This is a very important thing. That way, you can tailor the presentation to fit their expectation. Somewhat like tailor-made presentation, like that. So, just as when you are facilitating, you want to help your audience get the most of your presentation. You should know that at least the important thing what you wish to convey to the audience. Let the audience what catch that important things. The best way to do that is to accept feedback, which may include smiles, nods of interest, or people getting their phones out. And if you need to improve your presentation skills quickly, and there are certain important points, or what we can say the top tips for effective presentations, this will give you some quick wins that will help you improve your presentations. If you are already an experienced presenter, this page should be a useful refresher, or even uh, this is a very important phase because you are all at the master's level. Now only you should start. That's what I told you. This is a very important phase. You should start what inculcating or start building all these skills in you, so that it would be very easy for you to face the interviews in future. Okay, even to take your skills from good to great. You're all good, right? I know, but in order to make yourself better, from good to better or good to great lies in your hands. So, the most important tip of all, however, is to remember that's all about your audience. Keep that in mind, and your presentation skills will almost instantly improve. And if you have more time to develop your presentation skills, then the presentation skills section, it is also very important. And what are those presentation skills? The first, step by step, you should what know how to build your skills professionally and effectively. Okay, and the second important thing is that, and how more detailed information you are going to give about your presentation through your presentation on particular topic. And it also lies on on your communication skills or communication way. Okay, how you communicate with the audience, and you can either use step by step what a challenge or step by step guide to walk you through the presentation preparation and delivery process, or you can also focus on particular areas which you feel interested in. Okay, then what is a presentation? So far, I told you, what are the important skills you need to inculcate. So, what is a presentation? We define presentation as a means of communication, right? Communication that can be adapted to various speaking situations, such as talking to a group, addressing a meeting, or a briefing a team. So, these are all very important things you should know uh, to be a very good presenter, and from good to great. A presentation requires you to get a message across to the listeners, and will often contain a purchase. I told you, very important element. The key elements of a presentation. What is that key element? Making a presentation is a way of communicating your thoughts and ideas to an audience, and many of our articles on communication are also very important. And through articles, some great writers, authors, they communicate, right? And consider the following key points of the presentation. Here, I just wish to give you in a tips form. And considering the following key points, these are all very important to organize or to structure your presentation. One thing, context. I have told you already, and now I am briefing you. Okay, context is very important. Ask yourself the following question to develop a full understanding of the context of the presentation. You should know when and where will you deliver your presentation. I told you there is a world of difference between a small room with a natural light and an formal setting, and a huge lecture room lit with stage lights. And the two require quite a different presentation. I have told you, and how to make a presentation at a conference, and how to make a presentation at a farewell party. Okay, the two require quite different presentation, but they are all presentations itself. And will it be in a setting you are familiar with or somewhere new? If somewhere new, it would be worth trying to visit it in advance in order to make you familiar with the place and familiar with the people. So you should make a small research about the new place and new setting, or at least arriving early to familiarize yourself with the room or with the audience or with the people whom you are going to address. Will the presentation be within a formal or less formal setting? I told you these are the important tips or key elements you should remember. Okay, before you make a presentation, a work setting will more or less by definition be more formal, but there are also various degrees of formality within that. Will the presentation be to a small group or a large crowd? This also you should know. Are you already familiar with the audience? Sometimes we may not be familiar with, sometimes, of course, we are familiar with. So, with a new audience, you will have to build a rapport quickly and effectively to get them on your side. You might have observed a great speakers or what lecture. What's sometimes great writers how they speak, and journalists and great leaders, okay, and social activists, human rights activists, how they speak. You should at least you should be familiar with, and you should know the target audience, and you should know how to build a rapport quickly with the new audience only with your hard work. And what equipment and technology will be available to you, and what will you be expected to use, and at the same time what you are very familiar with, on what technique, or sometimes at this present era we all should be techno savvy, right? And we should know how to make use of technology, otherwise it would be very great difficulty for us to survive in certain fields or streams. In particular, you will need to ask about microphones and whether you will be expected to stand in one place or move around, because sometimes if you are addressing 10 people or more than 10, you no need to use microphones. But if you are addressing a huge gathering, definitely you should use microphones, right? So, what is the audience expecting to learn from you and your presentation? And I have already told you, all audience they come to listen to us and to learn to us and to listen to our new things they wish to know, and at the same time they wish to come to enjoy our presentation. So we should cater to all these needs. That's what I told you. In order to make a presentation or make one presentation, what we are supposed to do, we should give them a live example sometimes, and we should make them ask questions. Only it is possible only in what. What I can say, personal presentation like that, and sometimes it is very difficult in nowadays e-classes, online classes like that. Sometimes they even we feel irritated when they start using microphones to pose questions amidst of our presentation. So we ask them to. put a message or drop a message in a private chat box so that we can answer you later, like that. So check how you will be able to give you clues as to what information needs to be included in your presentation. All these aspects will change the presentation, of course. And who is the presenter? This is also very important. What is the role of a presenter in presentation? The role of the presenter is to communicate with the audience and control the presentation. Of course, I hope you do agree with me. Remember, though, that this may also include handing over the control to your audience, especially if you want some kind of interaction. Then what is the role of audience? The audience, of course, it receives the presence message or messages, whether it's interesting or not, whether it's good or not. They are there to receive what we say. Sometimes they don't have choice. Sometimes though they have choice, they just they don't what said pour it out openly in the public. However, this reception will be filtered through and affected by such things as the listener's own experience, knowledge, and personal sense of values. And what is the important message or messages one should uh, give in his or her presentation? The message or messages are delivered by the presenter to the audience. The message is delivered not just by spoken word or verbal communication, but can be augmented by techniques such as voice projection, body language, gestures, eye contact, verbal communication as well as non-verbal communications, and even visual aids. These are all the messages, of messages, what the audience is expecting and they will catch, and even the presenter is presenting. The message will also be affected by the audience expectation. For example, if we have been billed as speaking one on one particular topic and what we choose to speak on another, the audience is unlikely to take our message on board even if we present very well. So we should know what they are expecting. So how do we know? Only when we ask them what the audience is expecting me to present or us to present. So the audience is unlikely to take our messages on board even if we present very well. So we should be ready and we should be thorough with the audience and their mindset, and at the same time their expectation, what they are going to expect from the presenter. They will judge your presentation a failure sometimes, because if we not cater to their needs, then because we have not met their expectations, it's then the fault lies on whom? On us or on the audience? On us, on the presenter. So, reaction, the audience reaction, and therefore, or sometimes a feedback, the success of the presentation will largely depend upon this, the reaction or the feedback of the audience, whether you, as presenter, effectively communicated your message or whether it may met their expectation. This is very important. So, as a presenter, you don't control the audience expectations. Can we? No, we cannot control the audience expectations. So what we can do is find out what the audience or what they have been asking us or told about by the conference organizers, right? And what they are expecting to hear. Only if we know that, then definitely we can be confident of delivering something that will meet expectations. Then what, there are such methods. Okay, some methods to be followed before we make presentation. Then how will the presentation be delivered? This is also very important. Presentations are usually delivered directly to an audience, right? However, there may be occasions where they are delivered from a distance over the internet, using like how we are delivering now, using video conferencing systems such as Skype, like that. And it is also very important to remember that if your talk is recorded and posted on the internet, then people may be able to access it for several times, right? This will mean that your contemporaries or what your skills of the day-to-day knowledge references should be kept to a minimum. Then what are the impediments in delivering? presentations or in while making presentations. Many factors can influence the effectiveness of how your message is communicated to the you are a presenter, then how effectively your message is communicated to the audience. This is also very important. For example, sometimes background noise or other distractions, an overly warm or cool room, or the time of the day and state of audience alternates can all influence or yeah, influence your audience's level of concentration. So as presenter, you have to be prepared to cope up and to do your or to make your presentation very well, and you should be mentally prepared to cope with any such problems and try to keep your audience focused on your message. Hope you understood this, and let me move on to the next very important topic. What's that? Group discussion. Okay, yeah. Before that, I wish to uh, give some important tips for this presentation skills, and presenting under particular circumstances, and how circumstances that may be new to you include like giving lectures, giving a speech, presentation, interviews, presenting to a large groups or conferences, and managing a and how to manage a press conference. It is also kind of a presentation. And finally, how you should be unlucky enough to be involved in a serious crisis sometimes, and unexpectedly, unfortunately, we have to face lots of problem in a serious crisis or disaster that affects our organization sometimes. Okay, and when we are very unfortunate and we have to face all these crises. So presentation come in a lot of different forms and have a variety of purposes in the business. In this, we can say, competitive world or a business world, there are six main types of presentation. I have told you one. What are the types of presentation? One is providing information, teaching a skill, reporting progress, selling a product or service, making a decision, and solving a problem. And I think the last two is very very essential, because making a decision, there is a very crucial time where you are going to make a decision, and how you are going to convince your fellow colleagues or your fellow what students or batchmates like that. And it's time for the annual holiday party, for example, and ideas are being tossed around the office. And when giving your input on the location, make sure to share the must haves and nice to haves for the event like this. And when it's time for the final decision, you can see how your ideas stacks up to the other options. Then this is also very important when you have to solve a problem by making a presentation. This is also very important. This could be in a panel setting or other meeting where the problem is identified. The facts of the problem are presented and a list of causes is generated. From here, you should lay out the ideal outcome. Okay, you should be prepared to take both the negative and positive impacts, okay, inputs at the same time. And you should be ready to receive it with a broad smile on your face, though you are burning inside. Okay, from here, you lay out the ideal outcome, present solutions, and discuss your recommendations. With any presentation, know your objectives if your purpose is to inform or update. And you will most likely use one of the first three types of presentation. On the other hand, I told you where it may be a program or a family program or an official program or a conference like that. So I'll stop here. Then the next important topic of my presentation is group discussion. Okay, what is group discussion? You might be knowing, you might be familiar with group discussion. Employers resort to this because they can find out many crucial attributes of a candidate through this process, which other selection processes do not permit. It is very important for you to prepare well before the group discussion and perform in such a way that you draw the selector's attention towards you. Because group discussion means normally, does it take place within a few, within a small time and within a small group? No. Sometimes there may be 3 to 5 members in that group discussion, sometimes more than 10 members. So, in that manner or in that situation, how to drag the interviews or employers' attention towards you. This is also very important. There you have to focus on, and it is important, very much important for you to prepare well before the group discussion and perform in such a way that you draw the selectors' attention towards you, and you are given many tips on how to conduct yourself in a group discussion. Group discussion, when held as selection, it is also very important. One of the important selection processes always involves two parties sometimes, right? The selectors and the group discussion participants. The former plays only a passive role because the selectors or employer, they just sit and watch how you perform and how you speak and how you convince, and whether you have no updated your knowledge like that. They only what sit and watch the group discussion process and observe each and every one participant. They seldom intervene or interfere. Their sole objective, what is their sole objective? Their sole objective is to identify certain attributes in the participants which they could not easily identify by other means. And this is why. Then, why group discussions? Okay, why these group discussions? Group discussion as selection tool, I told you this is also one of the selection modes where a participant or what I can say a person, he should, in order to get a job, he has to go undergo all these processes. So it has become a great, what I can say, very important selection tool nowadays, which is gaining more and more importance for a variety of reasons. You know, and usually group discussions are conducted after the written test sometimes. Normally, it's quite common. Only if you pass through the written test, then only you are eligible to participate in group discussion. So it is one should in this group discussion will be conducted after the written test to shortlist candidates for the next stage of the selection process. So group discussion also helps the selection panel to reject outright candidates because of their poor performance. Because sometimes we have observed in a classroom, some students may ask question and they are attentive and they ask question and they clarify and they add something and they share, they wish to share what they have read. And some other students, they are very quiet, they just want to open their mouth. They are like selectors or employers, they are just mute spectators. So like that, in group discussion, if you don't speak, if you don't open your mouth, then you will be straight away you will be rejected, because group discussion is held to check your communicative skills and your knowledge, like that. So this technique is being increasingly used by professional educational institutions, especially business schools, as well as by business houses to select professionals. Okay, group discussion allows the selection panel to observe, compare and form opinions about a large number of candidates in a relatively short span of time. Group discussion, it also gives the opportunity to assess certain traits and skills of the candidates. I told you why these employers or a group or companies wish to have this group discussion, because they wish to assess your traits and skills of the candidates and that are not possible to observe in a resume. Yeah, of course, we can prepare resume or a biodata or curriculum vitae saying that I'm very good at all languages, all South Indian languages, including Hindi and English. But how do we know? Only if you open your mouth, right? And that's what they say. They cannot observe in your resume that whether you are a very good speaker or whether you are a veteran or a orator, like that. So they wish to have this group discussion in order to assess your skills, whether you have the certain traits and skills. So what are the effective skills or certain traits and skills the employers or the companies wants to assess in group discussion? They are Leadership qualities, quality of participation, analytical skills, problem solving skills, oral communication skills, and ability to handle people, team spirit, non-verbal behavior. What do you mean by non-verbal behavior? Your body language, gestures, and you should not sit with crossed-legged in front of a senior or in front of a higher authority like that. So these are all come under non-verbal behavior, confirmation to norms, decision making ability, interpersonal behavior. Because what do you mean by interpersonal? Cope with your fellow colleague or fellow candidate like that, and how do you enjoy the company, and how do you make decision by talking or by discussing with your fellow candidate like that. So interpersonal behavior, this is also very important. Why do they wish to check this? Because how good we are with our fellow teammates like that. So behavior in a group, body language, and how much importance do you give to the group objective as well as your own. How well do you listen to viewpoints? See, go on speaking is of course very strenuous, but the most strenuous job is to sit and listen. So there are many, there are much more good speaker, many good speakers, but hardly we get good listeners. So sometimes we have to be very good and patient listeners, right? And we should give a patient hearing to somebody's lecture. So in this group discussion process, then not only check your presenting skills or what speaking skills, speaking abilities or communicate abilities, but at the same time they also listen to you, and they also look at you, how well do you listen. Okay, listen to viewpoints of others. So we should all, you should especially be a patient hearer or listeners, and we should give patient hearing when, if or when somebody is speaking, and how open-minded you are in accepting views. And there are certain people, they never accept, though you are saying very good things in a group, they're always skeptic about others. So we should avoid all these things. So we should, they also wish to check whether you accept somebody's views in a happy manner or in a smiling what in a very effective manner, or in with a smile like that. It is very difficult, and at the same time it is also very important in group discussion was that conduct, your behavior. Okay, conduct of group discussion. A group discussion is normally a formal discussion involving an invited group of participants. The number of participants usually will be around 8 or 10, sometimes more than 15, okay, or 20. They will be given a topic, often a contemporary and debatable topic, right? The participants will be allowed a few minutes, only about 10 minutes they may give to get prepared yourself, to understand the topic and organize their thoughts. Then they will be asked to discuss the topic for about 20 to 25 minutes. Then within a short span of time, how well you prepare and how well you present, that is also matters. Okay, the time available for the discussion will be communicated to the participants in advance. In such group discussions, no one is appointed as the leader or coordinator, and we should all know. And sometimes I have seen in a group discussion, some people they claim themselves self-declared leaders or coordinators of the group, and they start speaking so many things only because if somebody is sitting quietly, it doesn't mean that they don't have knowledge. They are a very good listeners, I told you. They just sit and watch because only if we go on speaking, nobody accept that we are a very good speaker, and we should speak only within a due time, about 10 minutes. What do they have? The time also very important, and the time management is also very important. What the employers or the companies, they'll look at you in group discussion. Please bear it in mind. Okay. In such group discussions, no one is appointed as leader or coordinator, I told you. Everyone is treated at par by the selection panel, but it is not uncommon for someone to take the initiative and take on a lead role. and you might have experienced at your level. A group discussion is normally not conditioned by such procedural rules as in the case of a formal debate. Here, the candidates can say whatever they like and whenever they like on the subject under discussion. A candidate can speak in favor of the subject, against the subject, or even follow a neutral path. Everything depends on the interest and ability of each member of the group. So, the candidates are quite free to discuss the topic without any interference from the selection panel. Okay, the entire discussion process will take place in front of the selection panel. How many minutes? I told you they will give you just 10 minutes to prepare on some particular issue, and they will ask you to discuss for about 25 minutes to 30 minutes, and they will be observing every action of each participant closely. Okay, then what do selectors look for? This is also very important thing. What do selectors look for in these group discussions? They will be looking for a variety of attributes in you, variety of traits or skills in you, which they were unable to assess from the resume. I told you, right? Only if somebody opens their mouth, then only we realize how bad they are, or how good they are, or how great they are. So, this will include the following. Did you make any useful contribution at all? So, these are the questions, okay? These are the following things they wish to look for in each and every candidate. What was your level of knowledge about the subject? Did you make useful contribution? Did you communicate effectively? This is also very important. All of you have opted for communication skills, right? And this is also very important thing. So you should give importance for your communication skills. Not only in there is no compulsion in you should be very great or adept in using English terms or English language. Whatever the language you communicate, but it should be effective, or Kannada or English or Hindi, whatever the language you are better with. Okay, what you are best at. Then what they look for? Were you a good listener? Did you unnecessarily interrupt others? Yeah, I told you, no, there are many people they just wish to, they think that only if they ask question, they will be identified by everyone. Okay, because they always, there are some people, maybe they that might be a positive, what part of them or negative, they always wish to be underlined, right? So they are under the impression that only if they raise question or only if they ask question, they are considered as the great and very well educated people. Okay, so but in group discussion, there are some persons they like, yeah, what being asked questions, but there are some great thinkers or philosophers or people, they never like such person. So in group discussions, what they look at you, were you a good listener? Okay, were you a good listener? Or did you unnecessarily interrupt others? Or how positive or negative was your body language? Yeah, that's what I told you. Let me drink some water. How positive or negative was your body language? This is also very important, and they the what panelist or panel of selectors or the companies, they will look at you or look for all these qualities or traits or skills in you. Then how positive or negative was your body language? Did you exhibit any analytical skills? Did you provide leadership to the group? How good a team player you were? Did you look or sound selfish? Sometimes it happens, no? Selfish or self-centered. We could easily make out by their body language and by the way they present and by the way they behave. And there are some people they never let others to speak at all. They just went on speaking and neglecting others. They, in spite of knowing that the others wish to raise some questions or they need some clarification, but still they go on speaking on their own. So this is a very bad habit. So finally, what the selectors or the employees wish to assess based on this, did you do anything to bring the group to focus on the topic rather than going outside it? Which means you should not deviate from the topic. Within the topic, you wish to drag somebody's attention within the topic. What are the important thing you wish to drag or bring the group to focus on the important? So there are many do's and don'ts. No do's and don'ts in group discussion. If you have a reasonably good level of general knowledge, that will come in handy in a group discussion. So also your proficiency in vocabulary, grammar, accent, and so on. This is also very important. Vocabulary, grammar, accent, and so on. These help to draw the attention of the selectors towards you, to bring out the best in you and to create the desired impact on the selectors. You need to adhere to some do's and don'ts. So what are the do's and don'ts? I am here, I am talking about do's. Okay, what you should do, like that. Listen to others attentively. You may even take brief notes. Okay, listen to others, and if you feel it is important point some your fellow teammate or candidate is making, just try to write down it. It's not a bad thing, you can write it down. So enter the discussion at an early stage. This is very good, because I told hardly we find good and patient listeners. So better, before they ask us to stop, we'll stop. Let us stop. Okay. Communicate with confidence, because your body language and the way you communicate, the way you present itself, they can judge you how good you are at communication and how confident you are. So communicate. Though you wish to speak few lines, you speak with confidence, like that. Make sure that your contributions are focused on the given topic. Try to speak something new which has not been said by the earlier speaker. Yeah, because I have seen some students or people, they just don't want to come up with ideas, or maybe they just don't want to give work to their brain. They say what the other said, it's right. And I also agree with them, like that. No, we shouldn't do like that. Though you wish to speak a single sentence also matters a lot in group discussion. So try to speak something new. You should not copy others. Okay. Group discussions, if you find that any participant is not what making or her or his viewpoint clear, ask pertinent questions. Okay, and at the same time, it is also very important that at the end of the group discussion, what come up with, you should be a better speaker, and you should be updated with the present scenario or present current affairs, and you should be very good at communicative skills, like that. Then what are the don'ts? Don'ts means you should not do. The selectors will be critically observing your every action while the group discussion is on, and they will be making notes of the positive points as well as the negative points of the candidates or the candidates or the people who have come for the interview. While it is important to demonstrate strength, it is equally important to work on your weaknesses. So please take note of the don'ts listed below. So though you don't want to do the what you must do, but please don't do what you are not supposed to do. Okay, these are the important things you should remember, what you are not supposed to do at the group discussion. Don't appear or feel restless when someone is speaking, because this comes under non-verbal communication. Okay, because sometimes though we never speak, our body language it says, and our facial expression. So we should not appear, you should not appear or feel restless when somebody is speaking. You should listen to them with a, though with not with a smiling face, at least with a quiet manner. So don't keep silent for a long time. The selectors are there to hear you speak. That's what I told you. Don't be a dumbo. Okay, you should speak. The selectors are there to hear you speak. because they are there to check your communication skills, though you talk in a regional language or a national language or an international language. Don't exhibit negative body language. Example, shaking your leg with when speaking, and sitting cross-legged when others are addressing you, and when you wish to say something like that. So don't use abusive or unparliamentary or unobjectional language or gestures in group discussion. And don't impose your views upon others. And don't get irritated or lose temper if someone disagrees with you. This also matters a lot. Sometimes it happens. We, some people they get irritated the moment others object and disagree with them, right? So don't deviate from the subject given for discussion. Don't take anything personally. Don't give instruction to others in the group. Okay, don't take anything seriously because they must have told only in the group discussion only at that particular context of time, but don't take anything personally, and don't give instruction to others in the group because you have not been appointed as a leader or the coordinator. As I have told you, in group discussion they wish to listen to your communicative skills, and at the same time the employers or the selectors they wish to assess your traits and skills. So don't speak for the sake of speaking, finally. Okay, don't speak for the sake of speaking. Yeah, of course, for the formality's sake, I have to speak, so let me speak. So please don't have this in your mind while attending group discussions. So language focus, this is also very important thing because being a language teacher, I wish to tell you these are the things what you have to keep it in your mind. Okay, when you state something, when you wish to interrupt something, and how to handle interruptions like that. So I wish to give some helpful language for group discussion. For example, if you wish to state an opinion, if you wish to state something, like how you should begin, you should begin like it seems to me, like that, because it is your personal view, right? You should not impose your view on others. So you should come up with observation, or you should say like this. If you wish to state your opinion, say by saying that it seems to me, or in my view, this is like, and it seems to me because I personally feel, then I tend to think, and it's obvious that I believe in, or I wish to clearly state. So this is how you should use. These are the terms or languages or phrases you should use while you state an opinion. Got it? And if you wish to interrupt because you are not agree with what the speaker is saying or what the other fellow teammate is saying, then if you wish to interrupt, you should say, how do you interrupt? Can you just stand up and say, no, I don't agree with you? No. So you should start with, excuse me, or may I ask for a clarification, like that. Or if I may interrupt, and even you might have observed people saying, sorry to interrupt. This is the better what way of interrupting. And what I suggest you is, don't interrupt until they finish, or until and unless they finish. But if they go on speaking more than 10 to 15 minutes, then you can say by using these phrases, sorry to interrupt you, or excuse me, or may I interrupt, like that. Okay, then while handling interruption, what are the language you are supposed to use while handling interruptions? Sorry, please let me finish, like that. Of course, we tend to use this. I have observed many teachers, they use this. Sorry, let me finish my presentation, then I what interact with you, or then I clarify your doubts, like that. So if I may finish what I am saying, or could you please allow me to complete what I am saying, like that. Then if at the time of moving the discussion on, then what are the things, what are the phrases you should use? Can we go on to think about, or I think we should now move on to consider this, like that. Then, if you wish to express your agree or your consent to some particular what statement made by other person, then you should say, I quite agree. Okay, like that. I quite agree with, or I could not agree more, or absolutely, or I could not agree precisely, exactly, or I think you are right, like that. These are the phrases you should use. Then, this is while when you wish to express your agreement or consent for some. And when you don't agree, when you disagree with some statement, then what are the phrases you are supposed to use? I think quite differently on this, like that. Okay, I don't really think what you are saying is right, like that. So I'm afraid I can't agree with you at all, like that. Okay, like this. Then, while checking comprehension or reformulating, to put that another way, if I follow you correctly, like that. So what you are saying is, or does that mean, or are you saying, what are you saying? Do you know what are you saying? Like that. Okay, which means you wish to get a affirmation, or you wish to check their affirmation, like that. At that particular time, you have to use certain phrases. Then finally, making a suggestion. If you wish to make a suggestion, then what are the phrases you are supposed to use? How do we start? Normally, how do people use? I suggest that, like that. Okay, I suggest that, or we could, or perhaps we should, or it might be worth, or what about, and why don't we come and arrive at this conclusion, or what about this kind of solution, or it might be worth taking this decision, like that. Okay, these are the, I hope you are understanding, or you are going through the listening to me in a very quiet manner, and at the same time we do not know whether you are really following me. I'm audible enough, I hope. Yeah. Listening. A good listener, this is also very important traits of the communication skills, and especially during group discussion. A good listener agrees with what others say. This is very important thing, right? And it is a different skill altogether. Careful listening gives a better understanding, clarity, and speedy thinking. And the grammar, linking words, this is also very important. I told you, and even I have given some important linkers or binders you should use during group discussion, and as well as moreover, like that, in the other words, or in other words, what do you say, for example, how do you use as well as or moreover? This technique is being increasingly used by professional or educational institutions, especially business schools, as well as by business houses to select professionals. In other words, for example, a candidate can speak in favor of the subject, against the subject, or even follow a neutral path, like that. But however, it still, on the other hand, on the contrary, when are we supposed to use these expressions in context? Like slouching tells them, okay, slouching tells them that you are different, or you do not care, or even though you might care a great deal. And because, since, for, and as. And when do we use this particular binders or linkers? And since you cannot see the listener in a telephone conversation, you need to confirm if important information has been correctly heard and understood. And therefore, consequently, so that hence, these are the another phrases or linkers. For example, speak softly so that others around you may not get disturbed. Like this. Okay, so I'm giving you example for this. Then finally, if provided that, otherwise, unless, in case, then when are we supposed to use these linkers? Do not telephone, or do not make phones to anyone at odd hours unless it is very urgent. Okay, I hope you got my point. How do we and where do we use unless the particular linker? Do not make telephones at odd hours unless it is very urgent. So these are the important things you need to be inculcate, and you have to concentrate on this. Then finally, how to sum up to sum up my what the presentation or lecture on group discussion. It is being used by employers increasingly because that gives the employer a chance to observe you and assess you in a group environment and evaluate your many crucial attributes and compare with other candidates. And you may be good academically and professionally, and sometimes you may be very good at communicative skills or communication. But if the selectors notice that your spoken communication or body language is not at all good enough, there is all possibility that you will be rejected, outrightly rejected at the group discussion stage. So you need to be extra careful about your body language, about your verbal language and non-verbal things, and you need to brush up your social skills before participating in group discussion. Participate, participate in group discussion in such a way that the selectors take note of you like that. Your representation should be like that, and your because it also matters a lot, because they are assessing your personality, they are assessing your presentation skills, they are assessing your communicative skills, and what they cannot assess in your resume, through your resume, they will assess you in group discussion. So this is very very essential. Next important topic of my presentation, my today's presentation, is interview skills. This is the last topic, but not least, interview skills. Because presentation skills, group discussion skills, very, very important. And this is the final thing where you are entering or where you are going to be interviewed by a panel of what people or members. Then, if you are going to impress at interview, then how do you impress them, right? What you have to do, you need to prepare thoroughly. And let us set out what to do to prepare, some pointers about how to behave and react in the interview, and what you might expect at an interview. And you should make a small research on the group, the company, the setup, the whether it's a new startup company, or whether it's what is the motto of that company, or what is the motto of the school, the mission of the school or mission of the university. Everything you need to work out, and you need to know. And only how do you know? Only if you make a small research, a short research on particular company or institution where you are going to face the interview. Okay, the most important thing to remember about any interview is that it is a two-way process, right? It is as much about you finding out whether you want to work for the company as them finding out whether they want you. Okay, this is very wise words are very important. So it is very important. This means it is important to present yourself as you really are, because though you make an enactment there, they can easily assess you. And sometimes people, they want to be over ambitious and sometimes over humble, right? And at the same time they wish to be over confident, and they then it's all fake. Because some group of selectors or panel of selectors, they will see thousands of people every day or hundreds of people every day. They know with the psychology of each and every human being will be there at their fingertips, so they can assess you with fraction of seconds. So you need to be very what I can say, very realistic, and don't be fake and don't be artificial at the time of your interview, and don't conduct yourself over ambitious and over intelligence and over innocent, right? So that's why it is very important to present yourself as you really are. So you should be genuine personality before the interview panel. Not to pretend. You should not pretend. Not to pretend, and not pretend to be something you are not. And you should not be hypocritical directly. Preparing for the interview. How do you prepare? Your preparation before the day of the interview needs to be on two main fronts. Okay. I told you what are the two main fronts you have to concentrate on. So research the organization. Okay, make a small research on the organization or the company, what you are going to, or give your interview or face the interview. So look at their website and any information that they have sent you and see if you can find their mission, objectives, any value statements and like. Okay, first thing what you have to do, you have to make a research on the particular company or organization. And it's helpful to be familiar with the organization's guiding principles. Also, try to find out how the job that you have applied for fits into the organization. You should make yourself what if sometimes we have to be self-examiner and self-introspective that whether we suit to that company, whether I can work in that company or whether I'm fit to work in that company, like that, because after analyzing their mission, objectives and value statements, so then make a list of the questions about the organizations. Okay, ideally around the work, such as the team you will be working with or the work that you will be doing on a daily basis. It's okay to ask about the on site gym and the holiday allowances, but don't sound as if you are really interested in getting away from the work. Okay, don't talk too much about your conveniences and other allowances, but you can ask few other facilities, but not entirely they're different from your work. So it's probably not a great idea to ask whether you will be able to work part time at this stage. Okay, and especially we are in post-pandemic session, and even as we all know, the second wave of pandemic has started. So nowadays, and at the present scenario, it is very not a wise decision or not a wise question to ask that can we work for a part time, because of course it's the work from home concept, the concept of work from home has already started. I think we have completed almost 9 months, right? 10 months now. So it's not a great idea to ask whether you will be able to work part time at this stage. So either you should already have done that before applying, or you need to be prepared to work the hours stated. And at the same time, first you should know about your organization. I told you before you give yourself for the interview or you make yourself to face the interview. And at the same time, the second important thing you must know about yourself, right? About yourself, because you will be the best judge. I am not saying better, but the best judge of yourself than others. So you need to sit down with the person's specification and your application and develop some new examples of how you meet at least a few of the requirements of the company, what it is organization, what it is expecting employee from an employee. Okay, so it is fine to talk about the examples on your application form or CV or covering letter, but it's useful to have a few new ones too. And you can sit with a paper and pen and paper and you should start writing what you are and how differently you can frame your CV or how differently you can present yourself from the other candidate, like that. So describe the situation in one sentence or less and focus on your actions, the results that you achieved, and how you knew you were successful. This is very important. So what you are supposed to do, you should sit with a pen and paper, then you should start assessing yourself. What are your weaknesses and what is your strength and weaknesses. Okay, then it's also helpful to prepare answers for some of the standard icebreakers, such as tell me a bit about your current job. This can be, that's what I can tag it as icebreakers, standard icebreakers. This is the normal question where you will be triggered, you will being triggered by the interview panel, right? Tell me a bit about your current job, like that, or tell me why you have applied for this job. These are the two common questions you all tend to face in an interview. Your answer should focus on your skills, not about your company. Okay, be careful. Your answer should focus on your skills and how you can use them in the new job. Again, based around the person's specification. So don't learn them off by heart. I told please don't memorize the things, don't do by heart because it may helpful for some people, only few people, but not others. But have a good idea of what you want to say. If you want to say in few lines or few sentences or at least in one sentence, it's okay. Go ahead, but don't try to by heart things. And tests and presentations. This is also very important because some interviews require you to make a short presentation or to take a test. The details will also be included in the letter, what interview letter inviting you to interview. So you will have time to prepare, right? So if you have been asked to make a presentation, don't assume that there will be PPT or that you will be standing in front of a group. No, because only a panel of selectors will be there. Okay, interview panel it may consist hardly 5 to 8 people, so don't assume that there will be PPT, PowerPoint presentation. So don't waste your time on preparing PPTs. But you should make use of time to present or make yourself better. You may be invited to bring a handout. It's worth spending a bit of time making a one-page handout that fully summarizes your presentation. Okay, just a single paper uh, where you can point out or where you can draft your personality or your presentation. Whether it's a mind map sometime or a picture of some sort or what we can say a graph or a table or your 5 key take home messages. Think about what you want them to remember from your presentation. That's what I told you. Before you face the interview, what you are supposed to do, you sit at home with a paper and pen and start writing new things to make yourself to come up with new thing and making the interview panel to be remembered by your presentation. And make sure that that's clear from your handout and some general do's and don'ts. Okay, here also in interview, while attending interviews, you should do some certain things and you should not do some things. So what are the do's? Let me talk about what are the do's. Arrive in good time, right? Of course. And it doesn't mean that if the interview has been scheduled at 10 o'clock, you should arrive there at 8 o'clock. No, no. At least half an hour earlier or 1 hour. Okay, 9 o'clock. Arrive in good time. The interview panel may be interviewing a lot of candidates, so do not keep them waiting. Right? Yeah. Which means you should have punctual. You should be punctual enough. Then dress appropriately. Some organizations, especially technology companies or MNCs, have a very casual dress code, but for most, a suit will be appropriate interview wear. And nowadays, no need to wear suits like that. Only some few organizations they demand, but other companies they may uh, wish to look at you in a wish you to be in a formal dress, very formal dress, and have a very what formal dress, and it should be a colorful dress, right? Yeah, but remember that you are being judged on the appearance that you present. It is also important because first day appearance is the best appearance always, right? Yeah. Then act appropriately, which usually means following the interview's lead. Act appropriately because you are there to be analyzed or to be assessed by others. So act appropriately according to the interviewer's lead. And if you are offered a hand to shake, then shake it. But don't offer your own hand if nobody else seems to be interested. This is also very important. Okay, these are the what very um, small skills you need to be understand and the basic things and basic common sense. Then engage with the interviewers, smile, make eye contact, and build rapport. This is very, very important. And when you are questioned by the interview panel, you should answer with the eye contact. Okay, because what does the eye contact says? Because you are very only when you are very confident, then you can make eye contact. Otherwise, no. So they are there to judge your confidence level, your knowledge level, and your personality level. So you should engage with interviews with your smile, eye contacts, and your gestures, that is also very important. Two, in order to build up very good rapport with them, answer the questions that are asked using relevant examples where at all possible. If there is possible, then you can come what answer their questions with live examples like that. Then what are the don'ts? These are the do's. Okay, you should do at the interview time or in the interview day on the interview day. And these are the don'ts. Be afraid to blow your own trumpet a bit. What do you mean by blow your own trumpet? We have seen many people, they just blow their own trumpet, beat their own drums, which means that they just started praising themselves that they have written so many articles, they have published so many books, and they have done the wonders in the world like that. So just you should limit yourself, be afraid. That's what I'm telling you. Be afraid to blow your own trumpet, because after all, nobody else is going to blow it for you, and they are there to assess you, interview, and you select you. But then they don't have time to listen to your stories. So don't kill their time and even kill your time. However, do not lie or exaggerate things. Don't lie. I told you, you should be very prompt. You should be confident. You should be very prompt, and you should not be over excited and exaggerated. Right? If you want the job, be enthusiastic and positive. That's all. And no need to exaggerate the things and to make artificial presentation and to pose artificial behavior. Then be over familiar or share too much information. You should not. For example, the interviewers don't want to know how you are going to manage your childcare, right? So you should not pose or present yourself that you are imbibed with so many information or current affairs like that. So they don't want to know that how you are grooming yourself. They just want to know whether you are suitable to their companies or organization. Then, how many interviews maybe? Because nobody writes in their interview letter that we will be this much or these many people will be there to interview. No. The letter inviting you to interview will probably state who will be interviewing you. It's often 3 to 5 people, or sometimes more than 5 to 7 people like that. So because that removes any individual bias, so don't be surprised to walk in and find a room full of people. One will probably take the lead and explain who will be asking questions as well as the role of the others. And when you are asked a question, reply to the person and don't yourself be over enthusiastic and over confident, and you should plunge into action before they ask you, so or before they pose questions at you. So when you are asked a question, reply to the person who asked you a question, and you should look into his eyes and answer, and don't look into some others faces and look into somebody's eyes who didn't ask you a question. Okay, and you should start answering to them. No, the others may intervene either during or after your answers, in which case you will also need to reply to the intervention. I told you, know how you have to behave during a group discussion, like sorry to interrupt you, or sorry, let me complete my answer, like that. Okay, can I complete my answer? Then later ask your question, or clarify your doubts, like that. Or may I answer your question later? This is the very formal way and polished way of convincing the people. And again, reply to that person and not to the group generally. And presentations. Presentations also very important. If you have been invited to give a presentation, like some organization may demand ppts, or some organization may demand just a oral presentation, so you should know, and you should be prepared before you face the interview. You will probably be asked to give it immediately after introductions. Okay, you should introduce yourself. If there is a time limit for your presentation, then keep to it, and keep that in your mind. I told you, know, and sometimes they may ask you to make presentation for about 10 minutes. then 5 minutes discussion. So you should try to what finish your presentation before 10 minutes. And you should not drag after 10 minutes like that. If you can't see the clock in the room, then put your watch on the table in front of you to make sure that you are keeping time, or you are finishing your presentation within time. So what you are supposed to do, it does nothing wrong that you should keep a, if there is no normally every organization they have a clock, but I'm telling you, the because sometimes you may be paced back to your clock, so you are not able to look at the clock, then what you are supposed to do, you keep your watch on the table where you are sitting and make presentation. So if you are running short, cut your presentation and move to the conclusion. This is the wise decision, wise way of making presentation. And types of questions, what types of questions may be asked or may be triggered at you at the interview or on the interview day. So interviewers often like to start with an easy icebreaker question. What are the easy icebreaker question I told you? Such as what do you do in your current job? Or tell us why you applied for this job? Or why did you leave the previous job? Like that. Okay. You should be very smart enough to handle this kind of sensible and sensitive question. You cannot outrightly say that the previous company or the ex company owner was very harsh to me, so I quit the job. No, you shouldn't say like that. So that's what. For to answer that, you should really work hard and work smart. And if you have done your preparation, you will be ready for this. Modern interviews tend to be competence based, which means that they focus on your skills and how you can demonstrate them. This is also very important. You might have faced all these things. So questions will often be in the form of tell us about the time when you joined this or when you joined your previous company, or can you give us an example of a time, or from your previous experience how would you deal with a situation like pandemic or post pandemic time. Okay, and if you don't have much work experience, don't worry, this is all I can say, that if you don't have much, because if let us think that you are very fresh and just now you finished your degree and you are going to apply for a job, it doesn't mean that there is no question of losing your confidence level. You can say, of course, just now I finished my master's or my studies, and this is my first interview like that. So if you don't have much work experience, just don't bother. Be prepared to say, well, I haven't actually had to do that yet, but this is what I would do in the situation like that. Okay. So if you are being interviewed for a job where you don't have much experience in the field, the interviews will the selectors or the interview panel will usually try to help you by giving you hypothetical questions and asking you how would you approach a problem. They will give you just a situation, they will explain you situation, and they will ask you how you face this situation or what kind of decision you make or you may take in this situation. So they know you don't have much experience, but they are trying to help you or give you a chance to show that you can do the job. Sometimes there are very helping and very convincing people, they wish to really help you out. Okay. There are still interviewers around who believe in the benefits of asking off the wall questions, like if you were a car, what type you would be, like that. There are some that's what I told you. There are some interviewers or people what employers, they just wish to take they wish to find pleasure in asking off the wall questions, or what are your best and worst traits, like that, or just humor them. No need to answer for those silly questions, and have a fairly blind and blank and generic reply prepared, such as, well, I am not sure what type of animal or what type of car or bird or whatever I would be, but I do know I set myself high standards. I'm not happy unless I'm working hard. Like that, you can say. Okay. And at the end of your interview, you will probably be asked if you have any questions. Okay. And it is usually a good idea to ask a few questions about the organization or your role to be at this point. And however, if you really don't have any questions, perhaps because you spoke to someone from the organization before the interview and they have answered all your questions, then it's fine to say. Then it's fine to say so. Do explain that it's because you spoke to them and they were able to answer all your questions ahead of time. And it's also acceptable to ask when the organization will expect to let people know the outcome of their application. Okay, and it may also be worth asking if there is anything that they feel that you didn't address as well as you could have done, or that wasn't entirely clear. And it gives you a second chance if you were a bit nervous and didn't answer as well as you could have done early on. And sometimes what happens nowadays, we cannot expect personal interviews, but remote interviews or online interviews since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, many business have faced unprecedented demand for their products or services. Some have been actively recruiting and have had to find new ways to manage the process that are considered safe for interviewers and interviewee skills. And many have turned to remote interviews via video conferencing apps like Skype or Zoom, or there are many WebEx. So many apps have come up, right? Google, right, like that. So the rules for remote interviews are generally very similar to face interview. And for example, you should dress appropriately, and that really means from head to toe in personal interview. But in an online interview, only half of your body will be seen. So it doesn't mean that only you can dress up only half of your body, then you can do whatever you. No. So you should dress appropriately, and that really means from head to toe. You may think that you can get away with wearing pajamas or bottoms, but that will probably make you feel less professional, right? And that will come across. And it is also more or less guaranteed that you will forget and go to shut the door to keep the cat out. So please don't do this, especially I'm talking about during online interviews. And you should also arrive on time though it's an online interview. Okay, which in practice means being ready, checking your technology ahead of time, and connecting to the call a few minutes early, because you're not going to lose anything before logging uh, into session about 5 minutes early, like that. And obviously you should also engage with the interviewers. And finally, don't forget to remove distractions. If you are using a laptop, right, turn off your phone or keep your phone in a silent mode. It's the best way, and uh, what you can say, ideal way of handling things when you are facing online interviews. And if you are using your phone for the interview, turn off your notifications. And however, there are also some important differences. First, we be alone. The internet is currently full of horror stories, right? About people whose parents or friends who are sitting next to them in remote interviews, especially online interviews, feeding them answers, right? It is obvious that even sometimes we might have seen in videos, WhatsApp videos or Facebook videos, when somebody is facing interview, his or her child is playing very next to them and it's crying. And what they we could hear the barking sound of a dog, and their another cat is crying, like that. So please avoid and sit in a quiet room, be alone. And it is obvious, even if you are very sick, at muting and unmuting yourself, you will be better able to manage. And you will be asked to mute yourself when you are asked to answer them, then you can unmute yourself. Then when the other is speaking, okay, the interviewer is speaking, then you better mute yourself, okay, like that. So
Madam, can I speak for a while? I have a small announcement.
what's up?
I have to make one small announcement.
Yeah, please sir, please make,
Thank
please.
you, madam. Dear
Thank.
students, thank you for attending the skill development classes. Please find the Google Form link. It is provided in the comments box. I can find below the live chat where the it is pinned. It is you can see easily the Google Form link. So you can go through that Google form link. It will ask your email ID, your name, and then the program. So you have to fill only these things. And then, so if you after submitting, immediately the certificate will come to your email. So don't worry, after the class you can try. And also this will be active for 2 days, 2 or 3 days. So those who have not get this certificate today, because on one day only 100 certificates can be issued. So that's why don't worry. This same link will be active tomorrow also. So you can download tomorrow and also third day. So day after tomorrow also it will be valid. So you can fill the form. Those who will not get the certificate today and also by tomorrow, you can fill the form the next day. So 3 days this form will be active, and then on the fourth day, so this form won't be active and you won't get the certificate. That's why only these 3 days you fill only once. Do not repeat this procedure because the same certificate will repeatedly come to your email. So that's why I ask everyone to submit only once so that you will get the certificate immediately. So do not worry about the certificate. Okay, so I hope you understood. You find that Google Form link. It is provided in the comments box, or you can find below that live chat. So wherever this you are getting the messages. Okay, so thank you one and all for attending the class, madam. Thank you, madam. You
Thank you,
can
sir.
continue, please. Thank you,
Thank
madam.
you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, just let me take just few minutes, and I'll finish off. Then you can ask me question in a chat box. Yeah, I was talking about you should be alone while you are facing online interview. And second, choose your space and your background wisely. Okay, your what we can say, your bedroom or maybe your only private space, but think about your settings. Okay, maybe showing your interviewers a neutral space is better if possible. An artificial background may be fun, and don't try to make artificial background before you what face or be online interview. Okay, a neutral space is better if possible, but does it really convey the right impression? That is also very important while facing online interview. And third important thing is that think about your use of non-verbal communication. You will not be able to use body language as much, but your facial expression will be much clearer, right? You therefore you need to avoid relying on body language and expansive gestures. And finally, before you leave, thank the interview panel for the chance to attend the interview and say that it was nice to meet them. Okay, this is very important gesture. And smile, gain eye contact, and shake hands if appropriate. Always leave a good final impression. And you will find out in due course if you were unsuccessful or successful sometimes. And if you were not, then it can be a good idea to ask for feedback. You may gain some useful tips and advice to improve your chances at your next interview. In some interviews, they will give their what result. You will They will give your results then in their results. But for some interviewers, they will ask you to improve your skills like that. But whatever, though you get a positive reply or negative reply, it's your what important culture to thank them and thank the complete interview panel, thank the interviewer. I hope you enjoyed the session and you listen to my talk. Thanks a lot. If you have any doubts, you can ask me, and I hope you can get my email ID in our university website. And if you have doubts, you can drop me a message in my to my mail ID. Or let me wait for 1 or 2 minutes. If you have any doubts, you can chat with me in a private chat, separate window. Don't have doubts? Okay, thank you, one and all. Or if you have any doubts, you can ask me by dropping a message. Okay, if you don't, I hope you have understood and you have followed my lecture topic. Thank you, one and all. Thanks for giving me patient hearing. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And good luck for your exams. Thank you.